It's Wellness Nerd Out time! What's going on, you guys? Happy Wellness Nerd Out time. And today, we're going to be talking about some of the complications that we could suffer as a result of diabetes. All right, and let's get right into it today. So, when we talk about some things that can go wrong with diabetes, well, we have a lot of sugar in the blood, right? And we have all this blood glucose, and that sugar can bind to fats and proteins. So fats or lipids, right, and proteins. And this can cause some plaquing in the arteries or atherosclerosis when it binds to the LDL cholesterol, and it makes it more sticky and it sticks to the arterial walls, right? And that can inhibit blood flow to other tissues. Now we also, like we said, it binds to these proteins, and this could cause proteins to accumulate in the wall of the blood vessels, supplying tissues as well, and we can get some problems here again with hyaline arteriosclerosis, right? Or this proteinaceous protein accumulation in the blood, right? Also in the blood vessels. And so, what are some things that can go wrong here? Well, some things that could go wrong. For one, this lack of blood flow can affect blood vessels that are supplying the retina, and so it can cause vision loss, right? That's one. Could affect the blood vessels supplying the brain, more specifically, generally, the branches of the internal carotid artery, which could cause ischemic stroke to occur, right? So it could cause vision loss, ischemic stroke. Could also affect the blood vessels supplying the heart, and we talk about this atherosclerosis in the coronary arteries supplying the heart. Well, this could lead to eventually myocardial infarction, aka heart attack. So another serious thing. And on top of that, with this proteinaceous accumulation, we talk about hyaline arteriosclerosis. It could affect the blood vessels in the glomerulus of the kidney, responsible for filtering things, right, in our kidneys. And so now we get this accumulation of protein, and these are known as Kimmel-Steele-Wilson nodules, and they can cause the kidneys to excrete excessive amounts of protein, such as albumin being the more commonly spoken of one, and this could cause microalbuminuria. So we get albumin in the urine excreted by the kidneys, right, due to this blood vessel damage. Now, on top of that, we could have clogging of the blood vessels that supply our legs, all right? And so we get something called claudication, and this means it's that we get this pain and cramping in our legs, usually induced by exercise, right? Because we can't get proper blood flow to those tissues, all right? So blood flow, that's one thing, right? And reduced blood flow. On top of that, we have a very interesting thing happening where if we have this glucose in cells, right, we have all this blood glucose, and if it goes into cells, now this glucose inside the cell not only can be converted into energy, right, but this glucose goes through a pathway to be converted into fructose, and first it's converted into sorbitol via the enzyme aldol reductase, right? And when we get sorbitol, it can be converted into fructose via sorbitol dehydrogenase, all right? Excuse me. And you know, some of our cells, they can't, when we have diabetes, they can't convert sorbitol into fructose, and so sorbitol builds up in the cells, and it's very osmotically active as sorbitol. So when we get all this sorbitol, that means it causes water to influx to a massive degree into the cells, which can damage or even kill them, all right? And so some further complications that we get in diabetes, we can see the accumulation of proteins in the lens of the eye, and this is known as cataracts, right? And we also said we get diabetic nephropathy or kidney disease, right? And the accumulation of protein, we should say, those Kimmel-Steele-Wilson nodules, due to right, this protein building up in the walls of the arteries, or hyaline arteriosclerosis, is the most common cause of chronic kidney disease. All right. So we talked about the blood flow. We talked about the high levels of sorbitol in cells. And what else can happen? Well, we can get damage to nerves in diabetes, and we can have dysfunction of our Schwann cells, responsible for myelinating the axons, which transmit a signal to the next neuron, right, in the peripheral nervous system. And so if we have demyelination and damage to our peripheral nerves, of course, that could lead to a whole world of complications. Now, one of them being the stomach, right? Not being able to contract. Shut up. The stomach can't contract properly, and this is known as gastric paresis, because the nervous signals getting to it, the autonomic nervous system, right? Sympathetic, parasympathetic divisions, right? The nervous signals can't get there, and so it can't contract, and it can't pass the chyme into the duodenum, or we could say that it can't pass the food it's trying to digest. It can't digest it properly and pass it into the small intestine. All right. We talk about nerve damage also can affect the eye in the sense that it could affect peripheral nerves like the oculomotor nerve, and this would cause the eye to be there just stuck looking down and outward, right, or inferiorly and laterally, we could say, with diabetes. So we get that, a lot of issues with the eye here, right? And on top of that, when we talk about nerve damage, well, if we can't get the proper signals in the autonomic nervous system to the bladder won't contract properly to release urine, and so we get urinary retention in the bladder, so it can't contract, so we're stuck with all that urine, right? Now, on top of that, it can affect the damage of the peripheral nerves, the blood vessels that they supply, and when we talk about orthostatic hypotension or orthostasis, this is when somebody goes from seated or lying down to standing up, and what would normally happen is the blood vessels would constrict, right? But here in diabetes, the blood vessels will remain open because of damage to the nerves that supply these blood vessels, and they remain open and dilated, and so we get dizzy and lightheaded upon standing. All right, so that's another thing that can go wrong. Now, last but not least, you can have somatosensory issues, and sensation issues, right? And when we talk about the sensation issues, specifically in your distal extremities, all right? So we're talking the hands and the feet, right? And if we can't sense things, well, we're going to get this numbness and burning, all right, in the hands and feet a lot with diabetes. And also, if we can't feel our feet, they talk about the feet a lot in diabetes, and this is why. If we can't feel them, we don't know when they've become damaged, right? We can't feel damage being done to them. We can't feel any sensation of pain from cuts or abrasions, ulcers, things like that. And so that's why it's so important to check your feet frequently if you have diabetes and to clean them often, right? You don't want one of those cuts getting infected just because you couldn't feel it. And, if you can't feel it, you could also damage it. You can't feel your feet. You might be stomping on them. You could be fracturing bones and things you wouldn't even have any idea, right? So that's another very dangerous complication of diabetes. So I tried to keep it pretty short and sweet today, get the big points out there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, like or share the video, leave a comment below, send me a message if you have any questions, and thank you guys so much. Let's see who's on here today. Who do we got, baby? House Cows, how you doing? Sam Hager, what's up, my brother? How's everything? I hope great. Keith Butler, what's up, you beast? How you doing? Ma, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for dropping the food off before. Reza, what's going on? And I don't know what you're saying. It's in a different language, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys very much. That was another good one, another one down. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll finish up our discussion in diabetes. And thank you so much for joining me in this one today. We'll see you then, you guys. Have a great rest of your day and night, I should say. And happy Wend Wellness. Thank you.